Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Sidney Poitier's memoir, The Measure of a Man.
Okay.
And this isn't just like your typical Hollywood, rags to riches, tell-all kind of thing.
Right.
This book really digs into who Poitier was as a person,
Yeah.
his values, his
hmm
challenges, and honestly, it's so incredibly relevant, even today, especially considering it was released way back in the 90s.
Well, what's fascinating about the book is that it's so deeply personal. It goes way beyond the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood,
Yeah.
and really explores Poitier's journey of self-discovery, his struggles with identity, and his just unwavering commitment to his principles.
Absolutely. So we know Poitier went from a tomato farm in
Yeah.
the Bahamas to becoming this huge Hollywood star.
Right.
Talk about a life changer. Literally went from no electricity or running water to red carpets and awards.
Yeah.
But what I find really intriguing is how those early experiences in the Bahamas,
Mhm.
so different from anything in Hollywood,
Yeah.
seem to have really shaped his character.
Oh, absolutely. Those early years were foundational for Poitier. He talks a lot about the importance of family, community, and hard work, values that were instilled in him from a young age on Cat Island, and you can definitely see how those values influenced his choices throughout his life and career.
Yeah. It's amazing how those values stayed with him even when he moved to Harlem at just 15. I mean, talk about a culture shock. To go from a small island to the bustling streets of New York City. That must have been a huge adjustment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can imagine the challenges he faced. He was a young black man trying to make it in a world that wasn't exactly welcoming. He encountered racism, prejudice, and countless rejections as he pursued his acting dream.
Yeah, and yet he persevered. Reading about all the rejections he faced, it really makes you wonder where he found that resilience. What do you think kept him going?
I think Poitier had this incredible inner strength and determination. He talks in the book about refusing to be defined by the limitations others tried to put on him. He knew his worth, he believed in his talent, and he simply refused to give up.
I guess that's a lesson we can all take away from his story.
Right.
Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do.
Right.
If you have a dream, go after it with everything you've got.
Exactly. And Poitier's story is such a powerful reminder that success doesn't come easy. It's about hard work, dedication, and an unwavering belief in yourself. And for Poitier, it was also about challenging the status quo and breaking down barriers for others.
Speaking of breaking barriers, you can't talk about Poitier without mentioning his groundbreaking role in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That film tackled interracial relationships head-on in a way that was incredibly daring for its time. It wasn't just entertainment, it sparked real conversations about race and society. What impact do you think that film had back then, especially given the social climate of the late 1960s?
Well, that film was a game changer. It challenged deeply ingrained prejudices and forced audiences to confront their own biases. And remember, this was during the height of the civil rights movement. The film's release was a bold statement, a reflection of the changing times, and a call for greater understanding and acceptance.
Right. And Poitier didn't shy away from these tough topics in his memoir either, did he?
No, he didn't.
He really delves into what it was like to navigate Hollywood as a black man,
Mhm.
constantly facing stereotypes
Yeah.
and pressure to represent an entire community.
Yeah, he talks very candidly about the burden of representation, the feeling that his every action was being scrutinized, and that he had a responsibility to portray black characters with dignity and complexity. He refused to be boxed into stereotypical roles, even when that meant turning down work.
Wow. That must have taken incredible courage, especially at a time when there weren't many other black actors in leading roles. Do you think that pressure ever felt overwhelming for him?
I think he definitely felt the weight of expectation, but he used that pressure as fuel to push for change. He saw his platform as an opportunity to challenge perceptions and to pave the way for other black actors to come.
This brings me to something that really struck me while reading The Measure of a Man. Poitier had this amazing ability to convey strength and dignity on screen, even in the face of racism and discrimination. His characters often commanded respect, even from those who were initially prejudiced against them. What do you think it was about his presence that made him such a powerful force?
Poitier had this quiet strength and gravitas that was undeniable. He didn't need to shout or be aggressive to command attention. His mere presence was enough to challenge the preconceived notions many people had about black men at the time.
He truly defied stereotypes, didn't he?
He did.
He was intelligent, articulate, and elegant, qualities that were rarely attributed to black characters in Hollywood at that time.
Exactly. He brought a humanity and depth to his roles that forced audiences to see black people as individuals, not just caricatures. and that was incredibly
It
powerful.
really makes you appreciate the impact he had, not just on Hollywood, but on society as a whole.
Oh, his influence was immense. He helped to change the way Black people were perceived and portrayed on screen, and that had a ripple effect on how they were treated in society.
Thinking about the context of the 1990s,
Hmm.
when Poitier released The Measure of a Man, what was the social and political landscape like at that time? It seems like it would have been a very different world than the one he broke into in Hollywood decades earlier.
Well, the 1990s was a time of introspection and reassessment
Yeah.
regarding race relations. The civil rights movement had made significant progress, but there was still a long way to go. The LA riots in 1992, for example, exposed the simmering racial tensions that still existed beneath the surface.
That makes the release of The Measure of a Man even more significant. It wasn't just a memoir, it was a timely and powerful reflection on race, identity, and the ongoing struggle for equality.
It was a reminder that even though progress had been made, the fight for justice wasn't over. And Poitier's voice, with its emphasis on integrity and perseverance, was a vital contribution to that ongoing dialogue.
It's interesting to think about how Poitier's book added to those conversations about race and representation, especially in Hollywood. He didn't just talk about the discrimination he faced. He also talked about the importance of individual dignity and having agency in your own life. It seems like he was trying to shift the narrative in a way.
Absolutely. He wanted to move beyond just being a victim of circumstance. He talked about making conscious choices,
Yeah.
about using his platform to advocate for change, and about refusing to be limited by others' expectations.
That's so inspiring. It makes you think about how we can all use our voices to challenge injustice,
Yeah.
even in small ways.
And his influence on other artists is undeniable. He paved the way for a whole generation of Black actors and filmmakers to tell their own stories,
Yeah.
to demand more authentic representation, and to push for greater diversity in Hollywood.
It's like you opened the door and said, come on in, let's change this industry together.
Exactly. And his impact wasn't limited to acting. His directorial debut, Buck and the Preacher, was also a significant moment. It was one of the first Westerns to feature a predominantly Black cast and to portray Black characters in a heroic light.
That's right. And that reminds me of another interesting tidbit. Did you know that Poitier actually helped fund the freedom rides during the civil rights movement? He wasn't just talking the talk. He was putting his money where his mouth was and actively supporting the fight for equality.
That's a great point. His commitment to social justice extended far beyond the screen. He was a true activist, using his fame and influence to advocate for change and to inspire others to get involved.
It's really amazing to see how he used his platform to make a difference. It makes you realize that we all have a responsibility to speak out against injustice and to fight for what's right.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most enduring legacies of The Measure of a Man. It's not just a celebrity memoir. It's a call to action. It challenges us to be more than just observers. It encourages us to be active participants in creating a more just and equitable world.
Speaking of the book itself, I'm curious about how The Measure of a Man impacted the way memoirs are written. It seems like it really set a new standard for the genre, combining personal reflections with insights on social issues.
Yeah, Poitier's approach to memoir writing was groundbreaking. He wasn't just recounting events, he was exploring their meaning and their broader societal implications. He delved into complex themes of identity, morality, and the pursuit of excellence in a way that was both deeply personal and universally relatable.
His writing is so introspective and insightful. You really get a sense of who he was as a person, what his values were, and how he navigated the challenges he faced.
Yeah, he didn't shy away from difficult topics, and he didn't try to sugarcoat his experiences. He was honest about his struggles, his doubts, and his triumphs. And that authenticity is what makes the book so compelling.
And it's not just the content, it's the way he writes. His prose is so elegant and engaging. It's like he's inviting you to sit down and have a conversation with him, to share his journey and to learn from his experiences.
Yeah, he had a gift for storytelling. He could paint vivid pictures with his words, transport you to another time and place, and make you feel like you were right there beside him, experiencing everything firsthand.
So what do you think makes this memoir so enduring? Why does it continue to resonate with readers today, even though it was published decades ago?
I think it's because Poitier's story speaks to something timeless and universal, the desire for dignity, respect, and the freedom to pursue our dreams. His message of perseverance, integrity, and the power of the human spirit transcends time and culture.
And it's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can achieve extraordinary things. We can challenge the status quo, we can break down barriers, and we can make a positive impact on the world.
His story is a testament to the power of one person to make a difference. And it's an inspiration to all of us to strive for a better future, both for ourselves and for generations to come.
I think a lot of people might assume that a memoir by a Hollywood icon would be all about fame and fortune. But The Measure of a Man is so much deeper than that.
It's about so much more than just the superficial trappings of success. It's about character, integrity, and using your platform for good. It's about living a life of purpose and leaving a legacy that matters.
And that's a message that never gets old.
It's as relevant today as it was when the book was first published, perhaps even more so, given the challenges and divisions we face in the world today.
We could all use a little bit of Sidney Poitier's wisdom and inspiration right now.
I couldn't agree more. His story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. There is always the possibility for change, and we all have the power within us to make a difference.
I think it's easy to look at someone like Poitier and think, he was extraordinary, a once-in-a-generation talent. But The Measure of a Man kind of challenges us to consider what our own measure is, right here, right now.
It really does. What values do we hold dear? How do we face challenges? How do we define excellence in our own lives? These are questions Poitier's story really makes you grapple with.
Yeah, and for him, it wasn't about achieving some external standard of success. It was about staying true to himself,
Yeah.
even when it was difficult.
That's the key takeaway for me. It's about recognizing that our lives are stories, too. And we have the power to choose what kind of story we want to tell.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's made me want to go back and rewatch all his films, but also really think about how I can use my own experiences to make a difference, however small.
I encourage you to do the same. Seek out The Measure of a Man and immerse yourself in Poitier's journey. I guarantee it's a story that will stay with you.
So as we wrap up, I keep coming back to this idea of legacy. How can we, like Poitier, use our own unique talents and experiences to have a positive impact on the world? What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?
These are the questions worth pondering, and I think they're a fitting tribute to Poitier. He didn't measure his life by fame or fortune, but by the difference he made.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the remarkable life and legacy of Sidney Poitier. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to make a positive impact on the world.